One of the most shocking things to come out of tennis this year is Novak Djokovic's friendship with Nick Kyrgios, and it's been a very, very memorable season. The two are on such good terms that they've been running jokes and regularly comment on each other's Instagram. Who would have thought we'd be here one day? Certainly not us. In this video, we're talking about Noel's message to the Aussie after his doubles title triumph. Let's get started. First up, Djokovic comments on Kyrgios' post. It's been one hell of a season for Nick. He's finally living up to the potential that we've always known he had. Earlier this month, he ended his 3-year title drought with the Citi Open in Washington, and only hours later he won the doubles title with Jack Sock. He became the first person in the tournament's history to claim both titles in the same year. Now that's super impressive, and it's not only the fans who are impressed. Novak Djokovic took to Instagram to express his delight and to give some advice. He comments on Nick's post, "Congrats, man, what a week. Just add capoeira training to your regimen and you will get a grand slam." Isn't it wholesome that the two are on such good terms? We love to see it. Now what does his comment mean? Well, if you're wondering about the context here, worry not, we got you. Remember when we said the two have got running jokes now? A few ago, Noel posted a video of himself where he was practicing the Brazilian martial art of capoeira, which includes dance, music, and acrobatics. It showed that the 21-time champion was back to training after winning his 7th Wimbledon title, and Nick wrote in the comments, "If you're telling me this is what it takes to win a slam, then I'm in trouble." As expected, fans thought it was the funniest thing ever and loved his harmless jab at Noel. Now, this recent comment is of course a reply to that. The Serb is suggesting that all Nick needs to do to win a Grand Slam is add capoeira to his training regime. If you ask us, we can't see the Aussie pick up martial arts, but it's not a bad deal. A few hours of dancing and music to get a Grand Slam? We'd get on that immediately. Of course, Nick said that if that's what it took, then he's never winning one, so we'll leave it up to him. Moving on, it's not the first time Djokovic encouraged Kyrgios. It seems like the Serb does think very highly of the 27-year-old. After the two played at Wimbledon final last month, which ended with Noel winning in 4 and claiming his 21st major, he had some words of encouragement for his opponent. He said that it was tough to find words of consolation after a loss as tough as that, but his run to the final showed that he was one of the best players in the world, especially on grass. He told Nick that he was going to be back, not just at the tournament but in the finals, and he wished him the best of luck. It really does feel like the two appreciate each other and their game. Even the Aussie said that he would have won that final if he was up against anybody else except Djokovic. And you know what? That's not hard to believe at all. We don't know about you guys, but we're big fans of this bromance. But how did it start? If you've been following tennis for a long time, you know that these two weren't always friends. Actually, it was very obvious how much Nick disliked Noel, and it wasn't quiet about it. Back in 2019, he went on a podcast and called the Serb cringeworthy. He said that he had this sick obsession wanting to be liked, and he craved to be like Roger Federer, and he couldn't stand him. At that point, Nick had a 2-0 winning record against Novak, and he even said that if he ever beat him again, he would do Noel's celebration in front of him. He was even very critical of Noel's exhibition tournament during the pandemic and said it was a bonehead decision to go ahead with. A few months later, when Djokovic asked for restrictions to be relaxed into 2021 Australian Open, the Aussie tweeted that he was a tool. So how did we go from that to it's officially a bromance? Well, it all started when Novak was in trouble at the Australian border earlier this year. We're sure nobody needs a reminder, but because he's not vaccinated against COVID-19, he wasn't allowed to enter the country for the Australian Open and was deported after a few days of legal drama. But to everybody's surprise, Nick came to his defense. He criticized his country's policies and said that the immigration office didn't have to treat the Serb like he was some sort of threat to the public because he wasn't. Ahead of their Wimbledon clash, the Aussie revealed that the two had been exchanging DMs and definitely had a friendship now. He said it was healthy for the sport. Nick said that he was almost the only player to stand up for the Serb at the start of the year, and he had earned his respect with that. Even before their game, the two were replying to each other on their Instagram stories, making dinner plans after the match. When Noel won, he said it was officially a bromance, and it really looks like it is. We're glad there's no resentment between the two players, and we hope we get to see them play each other again soon. Now let's move on to some other related news. First, Andy Roddick thinks Kyrgios can win the US Open. We'd have laughed if we had heard this a few months ago, but now it actually makes sense. The 27-year-old had been in superb form, and he shows no signs of stopping. Roddick suggested he'll be among the top 3 contenders to win the title in New York. He said that winning both titles at the Citi Open showed that Nick was at his supreme best, both physically and mentally. The American said that it was a big deal that he went to Washington, which was a pretty big event ahead of the final slam of the year, and came out on top in 2 separate draws. Washington was tough conditions, and Roddick said it was a big sign to not tap out despite playing every day, sometimes twice a day. He said that these wins put him in the top 2, maybe 3 favorites in Flushing Meadows. Next up, where does Kyrgios stand on the rankings? We're sure Wimbledon was great for Nick in every way, but it hurt his rankings drastically. So a run to the final would have ended with him breaking into the top 20, but because the tournament didn't have any rankings points, he actually fell 7 places after it was done. Now he managed to recover somewhat and moved up to number 37 after winning the Citi Open, and that puts him in a good position to get an all-important top 32 seed for the final slam, especially considering he's still playing in Montreal and Cincinnati. It's certain he'll move up, considering the Aussie's form at the moment. Stuart Fraser, a British tennis writer, stated that it would be a sigh of relief for top players if Nick is seeded at the top US Open because that means they won't have to face him in the early rounds. He also said that whether he's seeded or not, he'll be a contender after showing what he's capable of doing at Wimbledon and that he can come through in 5-setter matches too. We'll know soon enough if he has what it takes to go deep in New York. But Nick has been doing great so far. It'll be hard to stop him. And finally, Kyrgios beats Daniil Medvedev. Nick is in the form of his life. He's having the best season of his career so far, and it seems to be getting better and better. He's yet to lose a game since the Wimbledon final, and his latest win came against the world number 1, Daniil Medvedev. They met in the second round in Montreal, and the Aussie cruised to victory in 3 sets. He lost the first set in the tiebreak, but it was smooth sailing from there. With this win, he improved his head-to-head against the Russian to 3-1. This was also his second win over a number 1 ranked player in his career. The first one came against Rafa Nadal 8 years ago at his first ever Wimbledon. Nick said that the two knew each other's game pretty well, which gave him the confidence to win. After the game, the Aussie signed the camera with a message to his mother, who's currently in the hospital, and told the press that it was hard being away from family in tough times. Well, we hope his mom gets some strength seeing her son take over the world of tennis, and we hope Nick's fabulous run continues for a long time. It's been in the making for ages. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Nick Kyrgios has what it takes to win a Grand Slam? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.